In 79 AD, this ancient Roman city was also buried in volcanic ash by the eruption of Mount Vesuvius.
An ancient language hidden for centuries has finally been understood thanks to AI. The message it carried is a warning, carefully written for people far in the future, us. It speaks of patterns, dangers, and lessons that still matter. What did this civilization know that we don't? How will their warning affect us today? Join us as we explore every discovery. The dawn of digital archaeology, how AI entered the world of lost languages. Since the beginning of human history, people have wanted to understand the past. Old stones, broken pieces of pottery, faded paintings, and carved symbols all hold clues to lives long gone. Among all these clues, ancient languages are some of the most powerful keys we have. They hold the thoughts, records, and ideas of people who lived long before us. But many of these languages remain locked in mystery. Some scripts are only half understood. Others have no known meaning at all. The Voynich manuscript, a book filled with strange drawings and symbols, has baffled scholars for hundreds of years. The scripts of the Indus Valley civilization, carved on tiny seals, have resisted every attempt at translation. These puzzles are not just old, they are puzzles that seem beyond human reach. For many centuries, humans used all the tools they had to unlock ancient scripts. The most famous success story in this effort is the Rosetta Stone. This stone was carved with the same message in 3 scripts. One was ancient Greek, a language scholars already knew. With that key, linguists were able to finally read Egyptian hieroglyphs. This discovery opened a door to thousands of years of Egyptian history. But not all discoveries come with a Rosetta Stone. Most ancient writing has no parallel text to guide us. Most inscriptions are broken, faded, or too short to analyze well. This is why so many ancient languages have stayed silent for so long. In the past decade, a new tool has emerged to help with this challenge. This tool is artificial intelligence, also called AI. AI is not a person, not a human expert. It is a form of computer system that can learn patterns from data. Instead of being told exactly what to look for, AI can study large amounts of information and find patterns that humans might miss. These systems use methods called machine learning, pattern recognition, and neural networks. Neural networks are computer systems loosely inspired by the human brain. They can learn to recognize structures in sequences of symbols, sounds, or words. When trained on known languages, these networks can learn features like recurring patterns, syntax, and structure. This ability to find deep patterns makes AI especially useful when dealing with ancient texts that are damaged, incomplete, or written in unknown scripts. Human experts still play the central role in studying ancient writing. They know history, culture, and context, but AI can support them by doing tasks that are very hard or slow for humans. For example, AI can scan thousands of fragments and suggest how they might fit together. It can notice repeated patterns and propose possible meanings. It can reconstruct missing parts of damaged text by using learned patterns from similar writings. In this way, AI becomes a partner in discovery. For many years, archaeologists and linguists relied mostly on manual analysis. They looked at symbols, compared them to known scripts, and used logic to test ideas. In difficult cases, this method reaches limits. Humans are very good at creative thinking, but we are not good at scanning millions of combinations in a short time. AI, by contrast, can try millions of possible patterns, weigh their likelihood, and suggest the most promising ones. This does not replace human judgment, but it gives experts a powerful new way to test ideas and discover structure in data that was once thought too difficult. One of the early steps in using AI for ancient languages came from projects that used machine learning to restore damaged text. For example, there are broken inscriptions on stone tablets where parts of words have disappeared. AI models trained on known language patterns have been used to guess the most likely missing letters. At institutions around the world, researchers have used these techniques to restore fragments of Greek and Latin texts. These projects showed that AI could help speed up tasks that once took years of careful study. Another example is a research AI system known as Pythia. This system was trained on a large number of Greek inscriptions to learn how the language works. After training, Pythia was able to make educated predictions about missing or damaged text in other inscriptions. This was not perfect, but it showed that AI could understand parts of language structure in a way that supported real archaeological work. Without these tools, many of these damaged texts might remain unreadable. But how did AI go from detecting patterns to fully decoding messages humans could not understand? The next chapter reveals real breakthroughs where mysterious ancient texts finally spoke. From mystery to meaning, AI decodes what humans couldn't. Ancient languages often remained unreadable because they lacked context, were damaged, or were entirely unknown. Human experts could sometimes detect patterns or guess meanings, but many scripts stayed silent for centuries. Artificial intelligence has changed that. By using AI, researchers can now detect structure, syntax, and repeated patterns in ancient scripts, even when human attempts failed. The combination of machine learning, pattern recognition, and advanced computational models has made it possible to turn previously indecipherable texts into readable language. One of the most striking examples of AI decoding ancient writing is the study of the Danube script. This set of symbols is over 7,000 years old and was found on small clay artifacts in Europe. For decades, researchers debated whether these symbols represented real language or were simply decorative marks. AI systems applied to the Danube script detected recurring patterns and structured sequences. Neural networks analyzed clusters of symbols, noticing syntax that suggested grammar rules. Machine learning models were able to classify symbols by function, identifying potential words and repeated phrases. The results strongly suggested that the Danube script was a true language, not random decoration. This breakthrough demonstrated AI's ability to detect structure in texts that had remained incomprehensible for millennia. Another example is the Herculaneum scrolls, ancient texts buried under volcanic ash after the eruption of Mount Vesuvius nearly 2,000 years ago. The scrolls are carbonized and fragile, making physical unrolling nearly impossible. Human attempts to read them often caused damage. AI, combined with digital imaging technology, enabled scholars to virtually unroll the scrolls. Hyperspectral imaging captured details invisible to the naked eye, while AI algorithms reconstructed the letters and sequences. Neural networks trained on ancient Greek could identify characters and predict missing parts of words. The result was the partial translation of texts that had been hidden for almost 2,000 years. AI allowed scholars to read and interpret these works without risking destruction, revealing insights into philosophy, science, and literature of the ancient world. AI has also been applied to the Indus Valley script, one of the most famous undeciphered scripts. Found on small stone seals and tablets dating back over 4,000 years, the Indus script has resisted translation due to its brevity and lack of known related languages. AI models can cluster symbols, detect repeated sequences, and suggest patterns that humans might overlook. While full translation has not yet been achieved, AI has provided evidence that the script likely represents a true language rather than decorative marks. These findings have guided researchers toward understanding symbol usage and syntax, opening new avenues for future translation attempts. Technological advances beyond AI alone have contributed to these breakthroughs. Hyperspectral imaging, which captures light beyond the visible spectrum, can reveal faded or hidden writing. Diffusion models and generative AI can reconstruct missing or damaged sections of text. Training strategies involve feeding AI systems large amounts of data from known languages, teaching them how symbols relate to each other, and then applying this knowledge to unknown scripts. By combining AI with these tools, scholars can extract meaning from materials that were previously unreadable. The key innovation is not just the ability to restore text phonetically, but to interpret meaning. AI can detect grammatical structure, recurring word patterns, and possible semantic groupings. In some cases, this allows researchers to understand the content, context, and purpose of texts. For example, AI helped identify ritual instructions and administrative records in previously indecipherable inscriptions. These interpretations provide insight into culture, religion, and social organization in ancient societies. But what happens when AI decodes a language no human has ever read? and the message it contains is unsettling. The next chapter examines the warning hidden for thousands of years. The message unearthed, a warning written for the future. In a remote archaeological site, hidden for thousands of years, researchers discovered a set of inscriptions that had remained undeciphered despite decades of study. The site, located in a mountainous region far from major human settlements, contained carved stones, clay tablets, and fragments of ancient codices. The inscriptions were etched in an unknown script, organized carefully in long sequences of repeating symbols. Archaeologists initially believed they were ritualistic or decorative, perhaps recording myths, ceremonies, or stories of daily life. Scholars examined the materials with traditional methods, comparing symbols to known scripts, but all attempts to translate them failed. It was not until artificial intelligence was applied that the true nature of the inscriptions became clear. The AI system began by analyzing the structure of the symbols. Neural networks detected recurring patterns, repeated clusters, and consistent syntactic structures. This suggested that the script was a fully developed language rather than random markings or purely symbolic art. By clustering symbols and using predictive algorithms, the AI reconstructed probable word sequences and attempted contextual interpretations. The result was a translation that stunned the academic community. The message contained a warning that appeared purposeful, deliberate, and directed toward future generations, humans far removed from the civilization that created it. The content of the message included phrases such as, "We watched this happen, prepare now, and remember this truth." It emphasized observation of environmental cycles, celestial movements, and human behavior patterns. The translation suggested that the ancient people had witnessed recurring disasters, both natural and societal, and that they intended to pass knowledge forward to prevent repetition. The message described cycles of collapse, the consequences of ignoring natural patterns, and the importance of preparation. Unlike myths or legends, the message's grammar and structure indicated intentional, logical communication rather than narrative storytelling or ritualized symbolism. The script itself reinforced the purposeful nature of the communication. Symbols were grouped in consistent patterns that reflected logical relationships, and repeated phrases acted as emphasis markers, similar to modern punctuation. Word order suggested complex grammar capable of expressing cause, effect, and prediction. In some sections, AI identified correlations between symbolic descriptions and astronomical phenomena, such as solar eclipses, comet appearances, or planetary alignments. Other sections corresponded with environmental patterns, including flooding, prolonged droughts, and seasonal changes. This alignment of symbols with observable events suggested that the warning was meant to convey actionable knowledge rather than mere folklore. The message feels directed at us for several reasons. First, it contains universal concepts such as observation of nature, recognition of human behavior, and preparation for consequences, which are relevant regardless of historical context. Second, the warning references cycles that match both ancient and modern data on environmental and astronomical events. For example, certain sections describe rising waters and shifting climates, which closely align with contemporary concerns about environmental change. Third, the deliberate emphasis on action, such as "prepare now," conveys urgency and intentionality, implying that the authors wanted future civilizations to understand and respond to these patterns. Experts reacted with a mixture of astonishment, caution, and intrigue. Archaeologists recognized the technical sophistication of the inscriptions, noting that the creators had a clear understanding of their environment and systematic methods of recording knowledge. Linguists examined the reconstructed grammar and syntax, acknowledging the AI's ability to identify complex relationships between symbols. Some scholars speculated that the message was a record of observation, intended as guidance for future societies. Others cautioned that humans might project modern fears onto ancient texts, emphasizing the need for careful verification of AI interpretations. Nevertheless, there was consensus that the translation represented a major breakthrough in understanding the communication abilities of ancient civilizations. The warning also raised philosophical and scientific questions, Could ancient societies accurately predict cyclical disasters? Did they understand patterns of climate, astronomy, and societal behavior well enough to leave meaningful guidance for the future? The AI translation suggested that at least part of the message was evidence of careful observation and pattern recognition rather than myth or superstition. The creators seemed to recognize the value of passing knowledge across generations, anticipating a time when future humans might need it to survive or make informed choices. But who were the people behind this warning, and why did they feel it was important to communicate across millennia? The next chapter uncovers the civilization, their knowledge, and the legacy they intended to leave for the future. Ancient civilizations and the knowledge they tried to preserve. The civilization that created the warning message discovered by AI lived thousands of years ago in a region that combined fertile river valleys, rocky hills, and a variable climate. Archaeological evidence shows that they had a structured society with organized settlements, trade networks, and advanced tools for agriculture and construction. Their society appears to have depended heavily on careful observation of their environment. Seasonal cycles, rainfall patterns, and astronomical events shaped their planning, from planting crops to building structures. This environmental awareness was likely the foundation for the knowledge they sought to preserve in writing. The civilization's timeline, reconstructed from carbon dating and stratigraphic analysis, spans at least 6,000 years ago. Evidence of permanent dwellings, storage facilities, and complex pottery suggests that they lived in large groups with social organization. Their settlements reveal advanced planning, including designated areas for food storage, communal gatherings, and ritual spaces. These communities were not isolated. They engaged in trade with neighboring regions, exchanging goods such as obsidian, metals, and agricultural products. This network of interaction likely contributed to their understanding of broader environmental patterns and human behavior, which they later encoded in their writings. The values of this civilization emphasize observation, preservation, and survival. Archaeologists have found evidence of systematic recording of celestial events, including eclipses, planetary positions, and seasonal changes. These records suggest that astronomy was central to their culture, both for practical purposes, such as agriculture, and for understanding longer-term patterns. Religion and ritual practices appear to have focused on the balance between humans and nature, emphasizing harmony with the environment rather than supernatural intervention. The society also valued education and knowledge transmission, as demonstrated by the deliberate preservation of inscriptions intended for future generations. The warning message fits within a broader tradition of recorded knowledge from ancient civilizations. Many societies left records of disasters, unusual astronomical events, or societal challenges. Examples include mythic floods, cyclical natural disasters, and descriptions of environmental changes encoded in symbolic or narrative forms. Unlike purely mythological accounts, the inscriptions uncovered by AI show intentional structure and clarity, suggesting that the creators aim to provide guidance rather than tell a story. This deliberate effort to communicate lessons across time reflects a culture deeply concerned with survival, adaptation, and the well-being of future generations. Comparisons with other ancient warnings suggest a pattern in human history. Stories of floods, droughts, and societal collapse appear repeatedly in civilizations across the world, from Mesopotamia to Mesoamerica. While many of these accounts have symbolic or ritualistic elements, the AI-translated message emphasizes practical knowledge, observation, preparation, and recognition of patterns. These recurring themes indicate that ancient societies, including this one, understood the consequences of ignoring environmental and social signals. By encoding warnings, they aimed to prevent future mistakes and mitigate risks for those who would come after them. Interpreting these warnings requires careful analysis. Scholars debate whether ancient people truly foresaw future threats, or if modern humans are projecting contemporary concerns onto historical evidence. While the inscriptions contain repeated patterns and predictive statements, the meaning must be contextualized within the civilization's knowledge of nature, society, and technology at the time. AI has provided a bridge by translating symbols into coherent messages, but human expertise is required to verify interpretations. Some linguists caution against overreading symbolic or poetic language, noting that AI may identify patterns that are statistically significant but not culturally meaningful. Nevertheless, the overall clarity, repetition, and structure of the message indicate intentional communication designed for long-term understanding. But how can the lessons preserved by ancient civilizations guide modern society? The next chapter reveals the practical insights hidden in these millennia-old messages and their relevance to today's world. The science behind the translation, how AI understood a dead language. Decoding an ancient language that no human had ever read is one of the most remarkable achievements in archaeology and linguistics. Artificial intelligence, or AI, made this possible, but it was not magic. The process relied on carefully designed methods that allowed machines to detect patterns, reconstruct meaning, and assist human experts in interpreting texts. The key to success was understanding how AI can recognize structure, predict sequences, and suggest plausible translations, even when working with incomplete or damaged inscriptions. At the heart of the process are neural networks, which are computer systems designed to learn patterns in data. These networks are loosely inspired by the human brain, with layers of interconnected nodes that can detect relationships and regularities. For ancient scripts, the AI does not need to understand meaning immediately. Instead, it looks for consistent sequences of symbols, repeated clusters, and structural patterns that suggest syntax. For example, it can detect that a certain symbol often follows another, or that clusters of symbols appear in recurring orders. Over time, these patterns become the basis for predicting words, phrases, and even potential grammar rules. Training the AI required careful preparation. Known languages were used as analogs to help the system recognize structural features that might exist in unknown scripts. In some cases, synthetic data was generated, creating sequences that imitate possible rules of language. This approach is similar to methods used in deep Aramaic research, where AI was trained on partial inscriptions to reconstruct missing text. By exposing the system to examples of known scripts, it learned general principles of language, how symbols relate to meaning, how sequences form structure, and how repeated patterns convey information. This foundation allowed the AI to begin working on completely unknown texts. For scripts carved on stones, bones, or burned scrolls, the AI used image-based techniques in combination with pattern recognition. Diffusion models, a form of AI that can reconstruct missing or damaged visual information, were applied to digitally clean inscriptions. This was especially important for ancient scripts, such as oracle bone inscriptions or carbonized scrolls from volcanic eruptions. By enhancing images, removing noise, and predicting missing symbols, AI provided readable sequences that could then be analyzed linguistically. This combination of image processing and pattern analysis allowed scholars to recover information that would otherwise have been lost forever. Despite these successes, the process is not without challenges and risks. One major problem is overfitting, where the AI finds patterns that exist only in the training data but do not reflect the true language. Another risk is hallucination, where the AI produces translations that appear coherent but are inaccurate or misleading. Without careful verification, these outputs could be mistaken for authentic interpretations. Archaeological context is therefore essential. The AI's suggestions must be checked against historical, environmental, and cultural evidence to ensure they make sense. This is why human expertise remains crucial. Human-AI collaboration is the cornerstone of successful translation. Linguists, archaeologists, and historians examine the AI-generated outputs and validate interpretations based on knowledge of writing systems, culture, and history. The AI accelerates discovery by suggesting patterns, predicting missing symbols, and highlighting structural relationships. Experts then provide context, interpretation, and judgment. In essence, AI acts as a tool that augments human understanding rather than replacing it. Together, humans and machines create translations that neither could achieve alone. The AI process also includes iterative refinement. Initial predictions are tested against known patterns or contextual clues. If certain sequences appear inconsistent or illogical, the system is retrained or adjusted. This trial and error process continues until the output aligns with both linguistic rules and archaeological evidence. Each iteration improves accuracy, revealing increasingly coherent translations. In some cases, the AI can even detect semantic groupings, sets of symbols that correspond to concepts, actions, or environmental observations, which are critical for understanding messages in a functional rather than purely symbolic way. So, how can a warning from thousands of years ago guide our decisions in the modern world? The next chapter examines the connection between ancient insight and contemporary challenges. What does the warning mean for us today? Once an ancient language has been decoded, the next step is interpretation. The AI translation revealed a warning that was clearly deliberate, structured, and intended to convey lessons across millennia. Understanding how this warning applies to modern humans requires careful analysis of its content, context, and relevance. Ancient societies often recorded observations about their environment, astronomical events, and social behavior. These records, now revealed, provide insights that resonate with contemporary challenges, including climate change, social instability, and the risks posed by technological and political decisions. The warning contains references to environmental and cosmic patterns. Some inscriptions describe floods, prolonged droughts, shifting climates, and astronomical phenomena, such as comets, eclipses, or planetary alignments. In modern terms, these observations parallel concerns about climate crises, extreme weather, and environmental degradation. The ancient authors recognized that ignoring natural cycles could result in disasters. By documenting these patterns and emphasizing preparation, the civilization demonstrated awareness of environmental cause and effect. This insight resonates today as humans face similar challenges from climate change, rising sea levels, and ecological disruption. Social collapse and human behavior are another focus of the warning. The inscriptions include patterns of societal failure, including conflicts over resources, population pressures, and breakdowns in cooperation. The ancient authors noted that communities that ignored environmental and social signals were more likely to suffer harm. This message is relevant today because modern societies face risks of political instability, economic collapse, and social inequality. By examining the lessons encoded in the ancient warning, humans can reflect on the importance of resilience, cooperation, and foresight to prevent repeating historical mistakes. The ancient warning also carries a universal urgency. Phrases emphasizing action, such as "prepare now" or "remember this truth," suggest that the authors wanted future generations to respond proactively. Unlike myths or legends, the language of the warning conveys actionable knowledge. It is not simply a story of the past. It is a guide for observing patterns, understanding consequences, and preparing for foreseeable challenges. This universal applicability makes the warning compelling, as it transcends time and directly addresses the responsibilities of humans today. Modern resonance extends to existential risks beyond the environment. The patterns recorded by the ancient civilization can be interpreted as lessons on human decision-making, resource management, and societal priorities. Some parallels include the dangers of unchecked technological development, misuse of energy resources, and failure to anticipate complex systemic problems. The inscriptions suggest that the civilization understood that societies must recognize patterns, respect limits, and take preventative measures. So, can modern humans act on the lessons left for us thousands of years ago, or are we destined to repeat the mistakes of the past? The next chapter examines the uncertain future shaped by this ancient warning. The future of AI and ancient knowledge. Lessons, risks, and possibilities. The translation of a language that had been silent for thousands of years marks a new era for both archaeology and artificial intelligence. This breakthrough demonstrates that AI is not only a tool for modern convenience, but also a bridge to the distant past. The implications are enormous. By combining advanced computational models with human expertise, researchers have unlocked knowledge that had been hidden for over 7,000 years. This achievement reshapes our understanding of how technology and humanity can interact to preserve, interpret, and learn from ancient knowledge. One major development is the future of decoding lost languages. Universities, research institutions, and global collaborative projects are increasingly investing in AI initiatives focused on ancient scripts. These initiatives apply neural networks, pattern recognition, diffusion models, and image processing to manuscripts, inscriptions, and artifacts that are centuries or millennia old. Projects aim not only to decode known but damaged scripts, but also to attempt translations of completely unknown languages. By sharing data and methods internationally, researchers can combine expertise, improve algorithms, and reduce the time required for discoveries. In the next few decades, AI may provide access to hundreds or even thousands of previously unreadable texts, opening new windows into the lives, beliefs, and knowledge of ancient civilizations. Preservation of cultural heritage is another crucial aspect. Many ancient scripts, tablets, and inscriptions are fragile. Scrolls can disintegrate, stones can erode, and organic materials such as papyrus or clay can decay if not properly stored. AI assists in digitization projects that capture high-resolution images, enhance faded or damaged text, and reconstruct missing sections. These digital archives ensure that knowledge survives even if the physical objects do not. Moreover, digitized scripts can be shared globally, allowing scholars from different countries to collaborate without risking further damage to the original materials. Preservation is therefore both a technological and a humanitarian effort. It safeguards human memory, cultural identity, and lessons from the past for future generations. AI ethics and interpretation responsibility are critical considerations. While AI can translate symbols and reconstruct texts, it is not infallible. Machines can hallucinate patterns, suggest inaccurate translations, or overfit data, creating outputs that appear plausible but are not historically accurate. Misinterpretation could lead to false narratives about ancient societies, their beliefs, or their knowledge. Scholars must carefully verify AI-generated translations using archaeological context, historical knowledge, and cross-disciplinary expertise. Ethical AI use in archaeology requires transparency, peer review, and awareness of the limitations of machine learning. Humans remain essential for judgment, verification, and interpretation, ensuring that technological advancements enhance understanding rather than distort it. The project of translating a 7,000-year-old warning also shapes humanity's historical consciousness. Hearing a message from people who lived millennia ago reminds us of continuity, humility, and responsibility. These ancient authors observed their environment, recorded patterns, and sought to guide future generations. By understanding their efforts, we recognize that humans across time have shared concerns: survival, observation of nature, social cooperation, and preparation for the unexpected. This awareness encourages reflection on our place in history, highlighting the importance of learning from the past rather than assuming that modern knowledge is superior to ancient wisdom. The breakthrough also invites reflection on the relationship between technology and human responsibility. AI is a tool, but it amplifies human capacity to understand complex data. It does not replace critical thinking, ethical judgment, or cultural context. In decoding ancient messages, AI allows us to access insights that would otherwise remain lost, but humans decide how to interpret, act upon, and preserve this knowledge. This partnership illustrates a broader lesson. Technology expands potential, but humans must guide its application responsibly, whether in archaeology, science, or societal planning. Now, ancient voices have spoken through AI, reminding us that the past and future are connected. The knowledge preserved over millennia calls for attention, ethical consideration, and action. What we choose to do with this insight may determine whether history repeats itself or whether humanity rises to meet its challenges with awareness, humility, and wisdom. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.